Hi, I had to lie down for a while after our last conversation. What you told me seemed unbelievable and made me very angry.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to upset you.
That's okay. I don't understand fully what you told me. You said that if the banks don't lend enough money, there will be a recession.
Yes. When banks don't lend enough, there is a shortage of money. People and companies can't buy things, so this leads to a recession. And when there is a recession, the government gets less taxes and has to pay more unemployment benefit. So the government has to borrow more money.
But why is there a shortage of money when the banks don't lend?
Because of the way money comes into existence. Most people think that the government, or the central bank, somehow provides our money supply. But this is not correct. In reality, over 95% of the money we use consists of bank-created credit.
I still don't understand. How could 95% of the money we use consist of bank credit?
That's just the way the system works. Banks are allowed to create money out of nowhere and then lend this to everybody else at interest. Not a lot of people understand this or what it means.
What does it mean?
It means our money supply is totally dependent on banks making loans. When a bank creates new money out of nowhere, this increases the amount of money in the economy. When the loan is paid off, this new money ceases to exist, so the amount of money in the economy decreases.
Bank lending creates new money out of nowhere. And repayment of loans causes money to disappear? If that is true, then if everybody paid off all their loans, all our money would disappear?
Yes.
The economy could not work like this.
It is true. The economy is inherently unstable due to the way banks create money out of nowhere. That is why we get bubbles, like the housing bubble, followed by recessions.
You are going too fast. What you are saying is completely crazy. Most of our money has been created by banks out of nowhere. And the banks charge us interest for this money that they create from nowhere? But where does the money come from to pay the interest?
From other loans.
From other loans?
Yes. Because the money to pay the interest does not exist. But the interest has to come from somewhere, and the only place it can come from is from other loans. So unless the amount of loans, and therefore debt, is constantly increasing, there will not be enough money to pay the interest.
If that is true, then this means that we can never, ever, get out of debt. If we did get out of debt, then our money supply would collapse?
That is correct. You, or I, could individually get out of debt, but the system depends on the people, collectively, being in permanent increasing debt.
But that is impossible. It means that we can never have a stable economy. The only way the economy can function is if it constantly grows. But are there no limits to how much the economy can grow?
Yes. A lot of people are saying that we are approaching that limit right now. The money creation system could only continue indefinitely if the planet were infinite. That's also why we have bubbles followed by recessions. The banks like to loan money because it increases their profits. And people and business need to borrow money to pay interest and invest in new things, like houses or machinery. But eventually the amount of debt increases to such a degree that many people cannot repay their loans.
So what happens then?
People default on their repayments, and then the banks lose a lot of money. The banks then become afraid, or unable, to loan more money, so the money supply decreases. Then there is a recession.
What happens to the banks when they lose a lot of money?
The government steps in and gives them more money.
But if most of the money in existence come from loans, where do the governments get the money to give to the banks?
They borrow it.
But why should the government give more money to the banks? Why not let the banks deal with their losses, just like any other private company?
Because they are systemically important.
What does that mean?
It means that if the banks are not lending money, then there is not enough money in the economy. And if the banks totally collapse, maybe we won't be able to get money out of the ATM machines.
You mean that the government is completely dependent on the banks?
Yes.
So the government gives more money to the banks because they don't have any other choice?
Yes, in our current system that is correct. They could change the way the financial system works, but they don't.
Why not?
I don't know. Maybe they are afraid to change it because they don't understand it. Or maybe it's because they believe in the free market. Nobody talks about changing the way money is created.
But when the banks start to lend again, won't this just lead to another bubble? And won't the government be in much more debt because they had to borrow money to give more money to the banks?
Yes,
What sort of crazy system is this? We need to change it.
but in order to change it, we need to understand it. And I'm not sure if our politicians actually understand it.
That cannot be true.
I don't know. Maybe we should ask them.